Okay, it's good on my end.
Yep.
Good on everybody else's?
I think it's good here.
Yay! Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Worldhoppers. This is a collaborative channel that is dedicated to raising money for charity. And this specific video that we're doing today is also in line with that because it's the Booktube Giving Tag. Every question has the word give in it. And for this specific video, we're going to have a link to the Phoenix Children's Hospital. Please consider donating to that. But we have two new Worldhoppers with us today. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Andy.
Hello, I am Andy Smith. My channel name is Andy Smith. I'm a relative new booktuber focusing on Malaz and Book of the Fallen, but also I just read a whole bunch of other stuff. I love fantasy, and I guess now I like Leviathan Wake, so I'm okay with sci-fi. But that's kind of my thing.
All right, well, my name is Ashley. My channel name is Don't Have a Degree in Reading. I've been on YouTube for 5 years now, which is forever long. I primarily read fantasy. I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, but I try to prioritize authors of color in my fantasy reads. And yeah, that's about it, I guess.
We'll jump right into the questions. So the very first one, what's a book you would give everyone if you could?
All right, I will start. I'm going to kind of cheat and say 1.5 answers. So my first answer would be if I could give someone like the same experience I had reading something, I would give them the Malaz and Book of the Fallen. Surprise, surprise. That's a 10-book epic series, so it's not for everyone. But if you can get through it, I actually do find the ending of that story so powerful in like a real world sense. Lots of people have said this, you probably heard this. It's all focused on compassion, and there's really a radical turn, especially in the last book, which is the 10th book. So I kind of feel like a jerk telling people to read it because you have to get all the way to the end. But it's very, very good. But my real answer would be my favorite book is a book called A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. It's a nonfiction book telling the history of the United States, particularly from the perspective of people and people groups that have been oppressed and underrepresented in traditional history. And for me, it was really, really formative in how I think about my life and how people are represented and who I should fight for. And so I know it's not a fantasy book, so kind of outside my genre, but I think that is an incredibly important work that anyone, whether you like history or not, can really read and enjoy.
I definitely want to check that one out. Isn't there like a Patriots history to the United States or something like that?
There's a lot of, so people have kind of riffed and made it sort of a genre of like someone's history. So actually at the library right now, it's Indigenous Peoples Month. I have on hold, I forget the name of the author. I think it's Diaz, Indigenous Peoples History of the United States. People have done like a black man's history of the United States. There's a lot of different sort of subgenres off of it, but Zinn was the first one to kind of do an overarching.
That was the textbook for my intro history class in college. I was like, wow, everything I ever learned is lies, wasn't it?
It is pretty crazy.
Sometimes they told lies.
It's crazy. Good
Okay.
answer.
Well, fantasy-wise, came prepared, okay? Got a Gathering of the Ravens by Scott Oden.
Yes.
It's
I want to read this.
its pitch is, what if a Lord of the Rings orc got a redemption arc? That's the only thing that you need to know about it. And it is as amazing as it freaking sounds. It's got mythology. It's a traveling story. The main character is like this orc-like being, and he is so just freaking funny. He's brutal. I mean, that's how I feel about it. So I want every fantasy lover to read this book. It's only like 320 pages, and it's technically a standalone. So you can just dive right in and enjoy it. And it's absolutely fantastic. And I kind of have another answer as well. I would recommend Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Syed. I read that a few months ago, and it's, basically what it says. It's a book that kind of goes through the ways that white people unknowingly or unconsciously perpetuate white supremacy. And it was super eye-opening. You know, being a liberal, you kind of think, you know, I'm on your side, you know, I'm an ally. But then you realize, oh, you know, there are some things that I do in my life that perpetuates white supremacy. So it has like reflective prompts as well. So it's not just like you reading and absorbing the information, like you're actually reflecting on it as well. So I found that super incredibly eye-opening and helpful.
It's like the hashtag nice guy, like people that just and I always joke, people that are or like hashtag woke, but
oh yes.
Like if you're calling yourself woke, I question.
But you're not actually like doing anything. Yeah.
Actually, I
have
just
that one. I haven't picked it up yet, but I have it.
List.
Wait, hold on. Someone's.
I said, Ashley, just so you know, you succeeded. I now just put A Gathering of Ravens on my wish list on Amazon. So
It's so good. It's so good.
Too.
You sold me. I was excited with your description of it, like Lord of the Rings without that, and then I found out it was 350 pages. I'm in. I've been reading.
You recommend like the 10-book series?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so I had a couple answers written down, but after hearing you guys talk, I've changed my mind about what I want to recommend, or I guess what I would give to people. I'm going to go with a nonfiction as well. You guys had some really good nonfiction picks. So I wish I could give everybody a book that I read earlier this year. It's one of my new favorites. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. And she is a therapist. And so she wrote this book. It's kind of like a memoir. And she wrote this book about when she was going through a tough time, but she talks about her own therapy. Like she was also seeing a therapist. So she talks about her relationship with her therapist, but also there's like these stories in it about some of the patients she was seeing. And it's one of those books that, well, I want to give it to everybody because there's a lot of stigma around therapy. And I just think everybody should go to therapy. It helps so much just to have like a third party person to talk to who's like not, invested in your life and not, they're invested in some ways, but they're not, judgmental or anything like that. I just think it's really helpful and it would help to break some of those stigmas. But also it's like one of those books that makes you look at the world a little bit differently and be like, wow, you really never know what people are going through under the surface, and just makes you more like empathetic of other people because you don't know what they're going through. And it was really good. And I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but I totally loved it.
I think that I've joked with my husband before that Deshaun and I have been friends for a long time. And it's almost dangerous to have a friend that tends to agree with you so much, because then sometimes maybe feelings that shouldn't be validated are. You're like, yeah, that's right. That was messed up. So yeah, therapy would probably be better.
What are you saying? I'm not a good therapist?
I mean, just go.
I'm not a therapist, so that's fair. Okay, I'm up next, right? Yeah. I'm gonna go with two as well. Sorry, I keep looking around. I know my mic is weird. I'm gonna go with House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, because it's just the most wholesome, sweet, precious, feel-good book of the century, book of my life. It's so it's contemporary fantasy. It's just adorable. And then the one actually you mentioned, well, I mentioned and then you mentioned because I tweeted it, Andy. The End of Policing by Alex S. Vitale. I'm not sure. Since we're going with some nonfiction stuff, I just think it's a really good introductory book to the topic of, I guess, just police abolition or reform and community, resources that can be used instead, and like defunding from those things to put into community resources. And whether you agree with it or not, I just think it's a good kind of overview to learn more about it one way or the other. So I would recommend that
views.
Yeah, just to see, because it goes into it, but not so complex into it that you're going to get bogged down. Each chapter is like homelessness and just, different things, different topics and different things that could use community resources in a lot of ways. So yeah, I think it's a good one to check it out.
Yeah, to jump on that recommendation, because I've read that book as well. The cool thing about it is like you really can't, if you're not looking to like really get into a nonfiction book, but you want to like read about a topic, like each chapter is its own thing, and you can just pick up wherever you're interested in. Like we were having a debate on my local school board about what are the resource officers, SROs, and they had a chapter about it. So I just kind of opened it up, reread it, and that kind of gave me a chance to like go in asking good questions and raising some objections. So it's a really good resource to have.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I have a little bit of a different answer because I would actually just give someone like a special edition or a collectible edition of like one of their favorite books or a book that they've really wanted for a long time. Some of my favorite books that I own are like my Barnes & Noble collectible editions. Just so pretty, make me so happy. So I would just ask, like, what's your favorite book, or what book do you absolutely want to read so bad, and just find like a cool edition. Like I know Folio Society has like crazy cool editions of these awesome books nowadays, and I'm sure there's tons of other places, but those are just things that I never want to buy for myself because I'm like, well, I already own, a different copy. So I would never buy that for myself, but it would be like such an awesome gift to like give somebody or receive. Would be just like a very pretty edition.
You're so sweet, Jessie.
I love fancy editions.
Yeah, I clearly do too with my 14 freaking Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, it kind of gave me the idea.
How many of those how many have I fed that addiction?
I think at least half, at least.
Every time I go anywhere, I'm like, do you have this one? If I find one. Just so everybody knows, I've done this tag individually on my own channel, so I'm just going to be asking the questions. And the next one, keeping it PG, I think a lot of you will know this phrase, but what's a book you couldn't give a rat's hiney about?
So I was thinking there's a lot of like easy answers, but I thought I would go with a semi-controversial one because it makes better, hashtag content. I'll just say it and then I'll give my explanation. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh.
It's so beloved, and I know people like it's hilarious, and the answer to the universe is 42 or 44. I know people really like those out, but as I said in the intro, don't usually really like sci-fi, with some exceptions, and two, like absurdist comedies, isn't really my thing. So like, I have like no incentive. Like actually just yesterday I went to a used bookstore on a bunch of great books, and there's this like beautiful like illustrated Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like all in one. I don't really love all in ones, but still like it looks really nice on the shelf. And I was just like, I'm never gonna read this. Like looking at it doesn't really give me joy. So there you go. Come at me,
joy.
People.
It doesn't spark joy.
It's a Marie Kondo lesson.
I'm a Marie Kondo disciple, so for sure, yeah.
I was just that's so weird because I just yesterday was at my local used bookstore and saw a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I thought about getting it, and I was like, I'll wait. So it's kind of weird that we both saw it.
Yeah, this is kind of funny too. I've noticed recently as I've gone to more used bookstores, I start judging books based on how often I see it at used bookstores. You guys do that before? Like, a lot of people are getting rid of this book.
Yeah.
I think I should, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I thought that same thing before. Like, and Bookman's is the one that we have that's really big in Arizona. One of the ones. We have great bookstores here, but they're usually going to have older fantasy works, and they have certain authors that you never see, unless because sometimes they'll order new copies, and then those ones will be full price and won't be on sale. Like you can still use your store credit. And I'm always like, dang it, because I get excited because I'm like, oh, cool, like it's N.K. Jemisin. I want to try out one of her, series, and then I look at it and it's full price because they just ordered it because now everybody's trying to like stock up on those. But I've done the exact same thing where I'm like, I see this here a lot, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let your audience take a collective breath.
Uh-oh. I feel like I already know what you're gonna say.
I think Red Rising.
Oh, okay.
Not a fan of Red Rising. Now, people probably thought I was going to say Mistborn.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
I liked Mistborn. I just didn't love it. I was expecting to love it. I liked it.
Anderson fans will still come after you for that. Let me tell you what.
I uploaded that video 3 years ago, and I still get comments from dude bros like, so it's fine. But yes, Red Rising. I also was not a fan of. It's not actually like. I just didn't like Darrow, the main character. I just found being in his brain he was just so obnoxious, and I just could. Now, I read that book. Like, I don't often read or read books. Like, I'll put it down or whatever. But that, I was just like, oh, let's see what happens next.
I think I'm similar in that if I really don't like the character and they're meant to be likable and I don't like them, I can't keep going.
It was wonderful.
I haven't read that one yet, but it's on my list.
It's definitely one of those stories that, like, I hear so much praise. I'm like, maybe I should go back and reread it, you know. But then I'm like, there's so many other books that I'm interested in that it's not even worth the time.
I gave Red Rising 2 stars.
Oh no! And
it's been a long time. But
I liked Red Rising like enough. I don't think I loved it. I don't remember. But then I picked up Golden Sun and I got like 30 pages in and I was like, I don't care at all. Nope. And I just quit.
I'm so nervous to pick it up.
Golden Sun is my least favorite, and it's most people's favorite because it's the first one I would say is more emotionally driven and smaller scale, and then the second one gets more sci-fi space battles kind of a book, and I was like, because I don't care about that as much. And then the third one got a mix of that and all the emotions again, so I was like, okay, I like it. So as a whole, I love the trilogy. I do not like the continuation. I read Iron Gold after going with Leanna from Leanna's library. We went to Howler Fest. I met Pierce Brown. I got my copy signed, and I didn't like it, so I turned it into my local bookstore.
Oh, no.
I wish we could have had like Red Rising signed instead. I still like Pierce Brown, though. I'm just really picky about continuations.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, Jade.
For my answer, I'm going to go with anything by Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, no.
I get why she has a big fan base, but and to be fair, I've only read 2 of her books, but I just don't really like her writing style. I know. I just really don't like her writing style. And the way that she handled romances so I read the first 2 Throne of Glass books. The way that she handled romances, I wasn't a fan of, and the way she did some of her reveals, like there's a lot of things I didn't like about the first 2 books, and I gave up on that series. And even though I keep hearing good things about some of her other books, I really don't think I like her writing style, and so I don't think I'm gonna like them, and I just couldn't care less.
Yeah, if you don't like how she does reveals, you won't like any of her books because it's the same. Yeah. And I love it. I eat it up. I'm always like, yes, I'm so hyped.
And she kind of like does the thing where I feel like her love interests like changed from book to book, and I kind of like get attached to love interests, and like that's what happened in the second Throne of Glass book. There was multiple things in that book that she did that I was like, what? That's not what I wanted to happen. So I don't think I jive with like the way that she wants her stories to play out, you know?
Yeah.
I was just telling Shona this morning that I plan to pick that series back up and just like enjoy the ride, and I don't know, just have it be sorry, my husband's
fun times.
If
you don't like how she reveals stuff, that's how she always reveals stuff. And the romance, it does become a more consistent. It becomes a consistent same person. I mean, it's a long series, but still, if you don't like how she does romance, that's also pretty same throughout.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, everyone keeps saying to try like the Avatar series, and I'm kind of intrigued, but like also I really don't think it's gonna be my jam. So
I don't think you're gonna like it. I don't think you're gonna like it.
I just figure if I read it, I know I'm gonna like rant about it, and I just would rather just not read it.
I think Alan's gonna have like a 2-hour-long rant vlog.
That's gonna be hilarious to watch.
He sent, I don't know if he sent it to you guys. He sent Jesse and I a sneak peek, and he's just in his garage ranting.
That's where Alan goes when he rants in the garage.
I love it. All right, what do I not give a rat's hiney about? I mean, there's so many. I feel like okay, and well, I'm gonna go an easy answer is an author that I just kind of don't. I've never had that much interest. Cassandra Clare. I just don't care. I read the first book in the one. There's like 17 different series. I don't even in that world. I read the first book and the ending. I was like, the heck is this?
I like your censorship just now.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, everyone knows like the fake incest situation. It's like, no, I don't want to.
Literally my least favorite.
I didn't know that, but
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. And anyways, but yeah, just I don't know. I've heard though that her like later series get better and like are like people really love them, but I don't really care. And another author that I think Jesse, this might break your heart a little bit, that I no longer really care about is V.E. Schwab. I just don't tend to jive. I'm so sorry. I know. I read a few and they just didn't really work for me. So
it's fine.
I thought you were going to say Brent Weeks because I know Jesse's reading Lightbringer.
Oh yeah, I don't care about that. There's too many.
There's just so many.
She should know at this point.
It's fine.
Shoshana, I feel similarly about Cassandra Clare. I'm really torn because some people really love her stuff, and I think about going back to it sometimes. But one thing that recently really turned me off was I went to a book festival in the area like earlier this year, and she was on a panel, and she spoiled one of her books in the panel. She was like, "Oh, it's been out for 10 years," and I'm like, "I that's the one." It was the one trilogy that's set in the past, and that one, she spoiled a character death, and I was like, "What the heck? Never mind."
Rude.
I was in the same camp where I've seen enough people love the later series that they're like, well, but these ones are good though. And I posted about it because I asked on Instagram once, what's one of your favorite series endings? And so many people kept naming one of the series. So I asked in my stories, I was like, do I have to read the other ones to read this one? And I got some DMs that were like, don't read it. Don't read her books. They suck. Like people like passionately didn't want me to read it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. So
I think I just will stay away from them.
I like the Infernal Devices, but I could pass on
one.
Well, now I'm spoiled for it, so like I don't think I'll ever give it a try.
Okay, my answer. I really don't mean to hate on Sarah J. Maas because I actually really like Sarah J. Maas, and I read the whole ACOTAR trilogy and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Fantastic. But I just don't care about A Court of Frost and Starlight, the little novella.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah, I've heard it's the most useless work of fiction.
The weirdest. Isn't there a very uncomfortable, cringy scene? I don't want to spoil, so I'll try to be vague. But it's like, I know what will really excite you. Me, like, thinking about a baby that we could have someday. I'll have that go into your brain, and then that will cap off this good time or something. And I'm just like,
I didn't hear about that, but I'm not surprised.
And now I'm even more
not sexy at all. In fact, that exact thought would ruin the moment for me.
So I thought you were going to reference the sky flying intercourse. Like what?
See, this is why I don't read her books. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm never going to read that one at all.
Yeah.
I do not care.
Is this the one?
That's it.
Is this
I'm
the one where they like change brains so they can have sex with themselves? Isn't that something that happens in this series?
Not in the series. Maybe in that book. I haven't read it. But
they change minds or something.
I haven't heard that before.
Not in the trilogy. Maybe in that one though.
Maybe they can like go. Maybe they can see. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Can't they like kind of sort of read each other's thoughts so then they can see like themselves through their lover's eyes? So then
yes,
they can
maybe. It's been a while since I read it, so I'm not sure.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Maybe I also blocked it out.
I mean, I only know
Yeah,
this
right.
from reviews, so don't trust me.
There's someone who is just pounding on the keyboard right
I
now.
know, right?
Correct.
That's not what it happens.
That's not how it goes. It's
You
actually
don't understand the magic.
I did not mean to start that conversation.
moving into the next question. On that note, given that the holidays are coming up, what's a book you hope someone buys for you, or you can say that you want to buy for yourself?
So this is kind of a spicy take. I'm actually not a huge special editions person. So I was like thinking of like putting on like Folio Society, Game of Thrones or something like that, which would be cool. But I think if I was going to pick anything, I forget what publisher actually did this, but someone has brought together all the Ursula Le Guin Earthsea books into like this one really beautiful hardback. And I've only read one of her books, and it was during like a time in my life where like I wasn't reading a lot, so I feel like I didn't give enough time to it, and so I'd really like to jump into that. And that collection looks really beautiful, so that would be my pick.
That's a good one.
Nice choice.
I would probably go with the special editions of Game of Thrones. I've got the first one, and I think they're about to release the third one, so I need the second and the third one. And I need a special edition of any of Rebecca Roanhorse's books. So far, they don't exist. So someone needs to get up on that so I can throw my money at it, because I would really, really, really love to have them.
So I don't really buy a ton of physical books, but one of the few ones that I do buy are Wheel of Time books. I have almost all of them. I'm missing one. So that's the one that I would like to get for Christmas. It is the 8th book, Path of Daggers. I don't know why I'm missing that one. I was buying them as I was like reading through, and I think I just happened to get that one from the library and then like just never bought it. So I need to buy that one.
Are you talking about the paperback editions? I feel like
the floppy paperbacks. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll get it for you for Christmas.
There's
And
one of these
recently-
before yesterday where I was.
Yesterday, or not yesterday, I said yesterday because you just said yesterday. Recently, they redid the cover of the first one for the floppy paperback. They changed the like little image to like an image of the original cover instead of it being like one of the. All of these have like fan art that they put on the covers, but they are redoing the very first one to have like the original cover in the middle instead. And I'm like kind of worried that they're going to do that to all of the paperbacks. So like I need to buy the 8th one before they change it because I want it all to match.
I don't know why they would do that, because those old
Because the
covers.
show is coming out.
But like, okay, I will say I don't even like that series, but that series deserves some better cover. Like those covers are cool, but that special edition that just came out recently is
It's
not
stupid. Oh yeah, people in the fandom were really angry. They were like, "What is this? This is the same thing."
I know. It's just silver, right?
Yeah, it's like silver or something.
I'm gonna go with the mass market paperback of Age of Death because it's coming out soon and I don't have it yet. I would say Age of Empire too, but it's not gonna be out until like the spring or something. And then, like any Wuthering Heights edition. I always
Forever and always.
As Elle knows.
So funny.
I think last year for Christmas I bought you 2 different editions, right?
You did, yeah. You got that Chiltern one that like everyone loves.
I had texted somebody that she knows that I was like, hey, can you look at her bookshelves and tell me if she has these, please? And so,
That's so sneaky.
yeah, I was like, don't let her see them. Even though I feel like I get you it all the time. At this point, it's a boring gift.
No, it's not.
Awesome. All right, mine is not even a book I love, but it just is going to start me on a rant about a book pet peeve I have. So I have this really pretty UK hardcover of Naomi Novik's Spinning Silver, and I love it. And I haven't read it yet. I hope I love the book, but I love this cover. This is the only available UK version of Uprooted by Naomi Novik. They had a beautiful hardcover that matched this one, but it went out of print like a month after it was released.
No.
I'm so angry that I can't get the hardcover. The hardcover's like $500 now. It's like the cheapest
That's
one.
crazy.
No.
It's crazy. It makes me so
500? That's insane.
I remember the same thing happened with the UK Strange the Dreamer, that really beautiful book. And so at the time I was like, oh, I haven't read it, so I'll just wait till I read it. And then if I like it, I'll go ahead and, buy that edition. And
You're
then
talking about the first edition with the stained pages?
Yeah.
I have that.
And I said on a video once, I'm like, I'm just like, I wish I had it, because now it's, same thing, like $200 or more everywhere you look. And then somebody just sent me their copy. They were like, I didn't like it. The blue sprayed. It's so beautiful.
It really is. Here, I'll grab it.
The goal here is just whine enough on the internet and somebody might buy it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying somebody has to get me.
That's the edition. They're so beautiful. I have them, and they're so pretty.
I wish I liked those books because those covers are beautiful.
So
yeah, they really are. But yeah, so I know that Illumicrate did the double, you could get the hardcovers, but I'm such a little cheapo, and because I was like, no, I already have the Spinning Silver one now, I don't want to have both of them. Like, I just want the uprooted one. I just want uprooted.
But Jesse, you could have gotten it and then sold your extra.
I know.
$500.
I could have done like a giveaway. I know. Maybe I'll still look and see if it's available. Anyway,
Maybe one day you'll walk into a used bookstore and it'll be there. Sometimes that happens.
It's true. I got Jay from Captured in Words the Quoth cover of Name of the Wind that I feel like nobody actually likes, but it's worth a lot. So I sent it to him, and I was like, I don't know if you guys know the cover that I'm talking about.
Yeah, the really cringy one with the dude painted and he's like shirtless.
The flowing red hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan. I don't know why, but
Mysterious.
Well, the next question now, a juicy one. What's a book or series you've given up on?
I have a little bit of a completion complex, so this is a tough one for me to get land on. But I did recently DNF, and this might hurt some people's childhoods, the Bulgariad. Have you guys heard of the David Eddings books?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So they're classic. I think the first one came out in 79.
Dang.
Pawn of Prophecy is the name of the first one. I read it and it was fine, but it's definitely that era where someone is a chosen one and they have to go find something, and usually they have to destroy it. It's like Lord of the Rings, kind of distilled. So the first one was kind of fun just because it was older or whatever. Then the second one was just so slow that I didn't go with it. So Bulgariad by David Eddings. If you know it, you probably read it when you were 8 and you loved it. So I'm sorry about that, but I read it this year and it was not great.
I mentioned it in a video once, and everybody commented, "Oh my god, I love that series! I love that series!" So I was going to check it out, but maybe I'll just kind of hold off.
Yeah.
I've got quite a few series that I dabbled in a book or so, and then I just wasn't interested enough to carry on. Some popular ones that I can think of: The Black Company. I read the first one. Yeah, it's not fun. Don't plan on continuing on with The Name of the Wind. I got the first one and it was just enough. It was fine. It's okay. Just
if you don't love the first one, don't go to the next one.
No, that's what I was contemplating. And then someone the issues that I had with the first one, they're like, yeah, it gets a lot worse, so don't even bother. So I'm like, okay,
then maybe.
What's that?
I said, unless you're really into fairy sex, then maybe.
No, my bad. No.
I do like that.
There's another one. Oh, Mark Lawrence's The Broken Empire. Mm-hmm. Not continuing on with that one either. Just didn't mesh well with either, their storytelling, their prose, their character development. Any of those things just didn't jive well with me. So don't plan on continuing.
I know I'm not answering this one, but I feel like so many of those, I was like, yeah, yep.
Man, I had a hard time picking for this answer because I feel like I've quit a lot of series over the years. But just trying to think about like series that I've started recently and decided not to continue on that are kind of popular. I'll throw out the Locked Tome series, which is the Gideon the Ninth series. I read the first one and I didn't hate it, but I don't really get the fuss. Like I didn't really like it that much. It was just like, okay. I didn't really like the character and the world build, like the main character Gideon, and the world building was like, it was really weird. Like it's kind of a mix between sci-fi and fantasy. Like it's technically set, it's supposed to be like a space opera, but it has like a fantasy feel. And like, I thought that would be really appealing to me because I love genre benders, but it just like didn't mesh well for me the way that it was done. And it also was a bit of like this murder mystery that like I thought it was going to be this like competition book, and it kind of was, but it was also this murder mystery. It was just like a little bit all over the place, and I just was kind of bored and not into it. So I am not going to read the sequel. I know it was a really popular book, but I just feel very lukewarm about it. And also for like a YA pick, I'm going to say like the Gilded Wolves series. I read the first one earlier this year, and I mean, a lot of people really like it, but I just was like, it's all right.
Because of the zippers, Jade?
Yes.
Frustrated.
So it's set in like 1801 or something. I don't know. I'm probably getting the dates wrong, but it's set like at the beginning of when during a World's Fair that happened in Paris. And I know it's a really tiny thing and a really silly thing, but the author kept talking about like zippers and how someone was like zipping their jacket up. And I was like, hold up, when were zippers invented? And it was like, zippers were invented like 10 years after the book took place, which it's only 10 years. It's not a big deal, but it just kept jumping out at me every time she mentioned zippers. I was like, oh my God, they didn't have zippers. So I didn't like that, but there were other things about it that I didn't like either. So I decided I'm not going to continue on in that series.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, I also have so many because I will DNF real fast. Do I like books? Because like so many of the ones you guys are talking about, like I have no interest. I DNF that. I don't care.
You're a fake reader.
Like, do I even like to read? But I swear I do. But recent ones this year, I mean, there's quite a few series that like I picked up a book and just DNF'd or didn't like the first book. So whatever. One being The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. I read it and I didn't hate that book, but I also was like, do I care enough to continue? No, I don't think I do. And then one that was just such a disappointment for me this year was Children of Virtue and Vengeance, that series. I really enjoyed the first book. I was here for it. I didn't love everything about it, but I liked it enough where I was like, and it was a debut, so I was like, it's probably only going to get better as the series goes on. And then I pre-ordered the second book, and I DNF'd it at like 30% or something.
Oh, no.
Because it was painful. And apparently it's going to be like an 8-book series, and I don't know why. Yeah.
I thought it was like, oh my gosh.
I saw on Twitter, someone tweeted that today, and all the comments were like, why?
That's crazy. Well, and they're making a TV show or a movie or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that being fun. But
yeah.
The second book, just things were happening that I was not a fan.
I felt similarly about the first one. Like, I liked it enough that I was going to continue, but I've heard, like, only bad things about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone like love the second book at all. All I've seen is disappointment.
No,
that's never good.
Bad.
You were my guinea pig. I was going to see what you thought of it, and then once I was like, yeah.
It's such a cool world, but yeah. Anyway.
All right, I'm gonna apologize to Jade.
That's okay. I already know.
Mine's Wheel of Time. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I just
Andy gave up.
World. And I didn't like anything about it. I'm so sorry.
How many did you read?
Just one, right?
Just one. And I
mean, that's fair.
Hardly read that one.
You have to read 4 books before you can quit, okay?
I did read 4 books and quit.
And she's still, well, but at least you made an informed decision. I'm being sarcastic.
I know. I'm the worst. I'm so
no, there's plenty of people who don't like it. It's fine.
People that are wrong, Jesse. It's fine.
So yeah, that's mine.
Before we all start arguing. Who's a character you wish an author would give less or give more time to? Sorry.
So I actually, for both these next two, because the next one is a character you wish an author would give more time to, I picked from the same series because I thought that'd be somewhat interesting. And it's actually, ironically enough, Jesse's least favorite series of all time, Wheel of Time.
Don't say Rand.
So let's see here. A character you wish an author would give more time to is Rand. That is my answer, Rand. And that is because, sorry, people who like the series are talking now, Jesse.
Hold on, Andy. I want to know, like, what version of Rand, like beginning Rand, end Rand.
Yeah. So I don't think this is spoilery, but if you're really touchy about that, I would like mute for the next 20 seconds, and then I'll do this later. But because I know people are, I understand, because I get kind of touchy about that. But Rand's journey as a whole through a lot of the series, I find the most interesting part of Wheel of Time. And what Jordan does, and I don't like this decision, is there's a very key moment that happens, I think in book 6 or 7, that is a huge, amazing moment for Rand and his character growth. And actually, basically from there until the end, when Sanderson takes over, Jordan purposefully keeps Rand at a distance from you. I don't like that decision. I think a lot of the slog is that we don't have Rand as sort of the spine of the story. So I would love for him to give more time sort of in that middle area.
I could agree with that.
That's me, I guess. I would say the main character of The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. It's told from Yani's point of view. And she's like this 19-year-old protagonist who finds out that she's like in the running to be the heir. And I just absolutely adored her as a character. I thought she's definitely like hands down like one of my top 5 female fantasy protagonists. And then the second book is set in 10 years in the future, and it's a totally different character. And like I was really thrown off by that. And I was like, wait a second. I need to know more about Yani. And she does pop up a few times, but it's never in her point of view. Overall, I mean, I loved the trilogy, but I still would have loved to follow her more in her story and things like that. So that would be my answer.
I feel like that a lot when the main character changes in like companion books and stuff. I'm like, no, I love this one. Like, go back to this character. So I had a few written down. I wasn't sure which one I would go with. Rand was one of the ones I had written down. I also have Kaladin on the list. Kind of similar situation in that like he's the main character of the first book, but then kind of gets less page time in some of the other ones. I'm only mid Oathbringer, but I could always take more Kaladin. But I think also sticking with Stormlight, a character that gets way less page time than Kaladin that I am super intrigued by and would love to know more. And I think a lot of people who are really into the Cosmere agree, and that would be Hoyd. I was like, what do I call Hoyd? I would love to know a lot more about him. And I mean, I think we will eventually, but like, I'm just impatient and I want to know now. Like every time he shows up and says something about his like past, I'm just like, wait, I want to know about that. Like, what is that? So
I know.
So Wit, if you're just at the beginning of the Stormlight, Wit is another name for that character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. That's why I paused. I was like, I don't know what to call it, but
yeah.
I'm gonna go with any character other than Tao in Rage of Dragons. I would have loved to have more because, and not even trying to be like a jerk, I genuinely think that would have made me enjoy the book more had we seen more of the secondary characters and gotten to know them more, and had they been more important and actually mattered. So that's my answer. Any of them.
Very good answer. I'm gonna say I haven't finished the series yet, so not totally sold on this answer. But for now, where I'm at in the series, in Witcher, Geralt.
Yeah.
I feel like for a couple books, Sapkowski does this interesting thing where he tells Geralt's story or tells one of the main character's stories through these like random perspectives. Like you get a random soldier's perspective for a chapter telling the story of what's happening with Geralt. And I want more time in Geralt's head. Baptism of Fire was excellent for that.
Yeah.
But there were like in Blood of Elves and what the heck is the Time of Contempt? Time of Contempt, especially. More Geralt, because I love Geralt.
It's basically like for video game fans, like non-playable characters get point of views to tell you the story about the playable characters. It's always never ending. All right, another saucy question. Who's a character you wish an author would give?
I'm so curious who Andy's going to say because he said it was in the same series.
It is. I forgot. I was going to supplement my more time as well in Wheel of Time. Another character I really want to have more time is Avienda. Especially a character perspective, because she is doing so much, like trying to change from like her cultural understandings of things. I think that could have been a really cool aspect. That she's kind of a character that's, in my opinion, sort of forgotten about. But to answer the exact question, I give less time to. This might be a little controversial. There's actually two in Wheel of Time. And again, this sort of goes to the slog portion of the books. Perrin, who I love as a character, but his particular storyline, like he gets one really good moment and then he's sort of stuck in place for about 3 or 4 books. And I feel like that really hurts his whole thing. I'm really trying to dance around spoilers, so I can't get deep into this. Jade, we'll have to talk sometime about this. Yes. And secondarily, Elaine, and sort of for the same reason. She sort of reaches a big character moment, and then she kind of drags for 2 or 3 books. And both of those, I think, it's kind of that period where everything kind of drags, so it might just be those. But those 2 characters, I feel like, really suffer the most. So my Wheel of Time hot takes.
I could see that.
I'm going to go with Written in Red. This is an urban fantasy, and it's told from our main protagonist, Meg's point of view. And she is the most boring character I've ever read in my entire life. Like, this entire book, 500 plus pages, is literally her just like in a mailroom. Like, that's her job, and that's what she's doing. And it's so painfully boring. Anyone other than this person. Everyone that I know that loves this is like, it's cozy. I'm like, how? I don't get it. She's so, and like there's this thing where, so she's like this blood prophet and people really, it's like really coveted, like they really want it. So she spent her entire life in a facility. So the only thing that she knows about the world is like what they told her. So basically like through like videos and instructions. So she's kind of like learning the world. So she's super naive. And like they talk about how she has like this thing inside of her where she's like physically she's 30 years old, but she's only like 10 years old in her mind. And it's super creepy because like a romance starts to ensue with like a werewolf. And I'm just it's supposed to be like cute and endearing, but I just found it so just like infuriating. So yeah, just like, literally anyone other than this person right here. And I might have enjoyed it. Maybe, probably not, but maybe.
There would have been a chance at least.
Just a small chance. Just a small chance.
Man, I really struggled with this question. I actually thought I was going to say that I don't have an answer, but after hearing you guys talk, you gave me some ideas. Wheel of Time wise, kind of going along with what Andy was saying, I think I could do without as much Fail. She's not my favorite. She's kind of annoying. But non-Wheel of Time answer actually reminded me of a urban fantasy that I DNF'd that is really popular, and I thought it was super boring. And that would be A Discovery of Witches. I don't know if anybody has read that.
Yes.
But I don't think if I had gotten a few more different perspectives, I might have found it interesting. But I just thought it was really boring. So could use less time in that main character's head for sure.
Yeah,
I do like the TV show. I think I might like it more as a TV show, but the book itself.
I DNF'd that series. I read the first book and I liked it, and then I read the second one and I was like, this is boring. I don't care. I like loving the show though.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good. I should watch the show then.
Yeah, I think it's fun anyways. My answer is going to be really just stereotypical Jashana. Kale from Throne of Glass. He has a whole freaking book. He's got a whole dang book that is dumb. And I tell everybody, you can just look up on bookseriesrecaps.com the Tower of Dawn recap. You'll get all, you do need to know stuff. It's not like a novella or like a side. Like there's stuff pivotal to the plot of the series in that book. But like just read the recap because I just can't stand him at all. He's so boring. He's so tedious. He's tedious.
His name
he doesn't even do anything wrong. I don't like hate him. He's not a bad guy. He's so tedious.
His name is Kale, like the leafy vegetable.
So it's spelled Chaol, but it's pronounced Kale.
Oh man, that's a bad start already.
Yeah, he's tedious.
That's a good answer. I was gonna say Tao, but I'm not gonna say it anymore. But I will still say Tao. But the one I will explain myself on is President Snow from the Hunger Games.
Oh.
Did not read his own book.
He did not.
Any more Coriolanus Snow. I'm done. That was
terrible.
Not good.
Terrible.
No. Yeah. So that's my answer.
Yeah. No, the world did not need that at all.
Just everybody's feelings. Yeah. All right. This next, if you had to give up almost all of your books, which ones would you keep?
Okay, so I have a sad story to tell at the beginning of this. So my wife and I are big disciples. You guys know this because we were talking pre-recording of Marie Kondo. Is that why we were recording? Anyway, Marie Kondo, if you don't know, is a bit organizer, and she's all about you should only have things in your life that spark joy or bring joy to your life. So when we first did that was right when I had finished Wheel of Time for like the 1.5 time, because I had originally read it in high school until the books were released. And then when I came back later, after all the books were released, and finished it. So I finished it. I was great. I felt really accomplished. But then I was like, I don't really need these anymore. So I had every single Wheel of Time book, which I think is it 14 or 15, Jade?
14 main series with a novella.
14, and I had New Spring, so 15. And then got rid of all of them except for Eye of the World, because my whole thought was like I would just keep the first book of all these series is because I would remember, my journeys that I took, which worked for a little while until I realized that I wanted to reread that series, and I still really regret that decision. So all that to say is I would make the decision based on books that I know I will reread, and there's kind of 4 big ones for me. There's Malazan, obviously. There's Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Wheel of Time. Those are kind of the 4 that I've consistently reread, even up to this point. So those would be the 4 that I would keep if I'm able. Am I stretching the rules too much, Elle?
No, that's okay.
There's no specific number.
When I did this, I was like pointing to all my books, basically.
I want it all.
Yeah,
all of these.
I would say the strategy of if there's like a series you finish that you don't think you're going to go back to, and you don't want some more like book space, if you just have the first one, there are a couple series where I just have that, and I really enjoy that. So that's kind of a tip thrown in there as well if you're running out of bookshelf space.
Okay, I've got a couple. I tried to keep it good. I would keep Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse because, I love it. And plus, she didn't technically sign it. She has a signed plate. But there's like so many things that are like in this book that are like specific to me. It has like Crow mythology. We have some like queer characters. It's fantastic, and the cover is stunning as well. And then just because I am a basic creature, I just like pretty things. I would also take Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James, even though like I really truly did love this book. So like I would have the potential to reread it. I'm sure it'd be like real fun to reread that. And then this one's going to be so strange because it's I guess sentimental. I mean, it is sentimental. It is Dan Brown's Pillow Symbol because my brother gave it to me for my 20th birthday. And it's the first time in I'm not a religious person, but I didn't know that because, I grew up in Kentucky. I went to Baptist church my whole life. I just never didn't realize that there was anything else other than. So like when I read this, it talks about deism, like with the founding fathers. And it's more about like God's being at a distance. Like, yeah, they did create the earth, but they have no say in it. Like they just kind of left us to our own devices. And that was kind of like one of the turning points in me realizing that I'm not religious, that, hey, there's other things out there in this world. Who knew? So I'll keep that.
Nice.
So for me, it's going to be the Wheel of Time series because I mentioned earlier, I don't really buy a ton of books. I do have some, obviously, and these are all ones that I love, but I always thought that I would reread some of them. But the longer I'm on Booktube, the more I hear about other books I want to read, and I just don't realistically spend a lot of time rereading. But Wheel of Time is definitely a series that I will reread for the rest of my life, I think. So I don't mind owning those. I think Stormlight is going to be one of those as well, because I think it's a series that is really good for rereading with lots of Easter eggs and stuff for things that you already have figured out. So I think maybe those two, but I don't own I owned 2 of the Stormlight books, but yeah, I think if I had to pick, I would go with the Wheel of Time books.
I also tend to only keep books that I think I'm going to reread, and I do actually reread a fair amount. But to keep it down to some faves, not say all of my books, I'm going to go with City of Girls, 100%. House in the Cerulean Sea, I'll Give You the Sun, The Hunger Games, and I think... I'm trying to pick between Throne of Glass. I want to say the new series, the adult series, the Sarah J. Maas series, but there's only one book out, so I don't know. But I want to reread that one book, and I'm hoping that the rest of the series will also be that I'll enjoy it, and maybe some of the problems with her previous works will continue to be resolved. So I kind of want to say that one too, House of Earth and Blood.
For me, I have to go with my Sanderson books, especially the Cosmere ones, because I'm going to continue to reread them and continue to try to put puzzle pieces together. I just noticed I was doing some rereading of chapter summaries for Oathbringer to get ready for Rhythm of War soon, and just noticed that there's some huge Warbreaker implications that I hadn't noticed the first time around, and it's just so exciting. So I'm definitely going to keep all the Cosmere books that I can piece together, and then books that would be hard to rebuy, my Barnes and Noble editions or any special editions, because I'd be afraid I couldn't get my hands on them again if they were ever gone. So those.
So really quick, we're already kind of coming up on an hour. We've all had such lovely conversations here. So was there an answer to any of the remaining questions, since we looked at them ahead of time, that you guys maybe would want to do one more answer to? And you can pick whichever question you like, and I can put it up on the screen. And then that way you guys aren't, here for another half an hour.
I would say the next question, I just grabbed my answer for the what's the best book or bookish thing you've been given.
Okay.
Because most of my books, I actually, people in my life, prior to being on Booktube especially, don't buy me books. They're always that's boring. I'm it's what I want. What do you mean? I'm telling you it's what I want. And they're that's boring now. So I haven't gotten gifted a bunch of books. But I have been gifted some now, and that's always delightful. But these covers for Throne of Glass that Elle got me are just can't even. It's for the whole series, and they're just so beautiful. I love them. So that's probably my favorite, especially because the cover for Kingdom of Ash is terrible, and I hate it. Now
You don't like the color of urine on your book covers?
Yes, I don't like the color of urine on my book covers at all.
A dehydrated person's urine, specifically.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
And then, Andy, what's the last one you would want to answer?
Yeah, I'm trying to go through all this. I think actually the best book bookish thing I've ever been given. This is obviously a very personal choice, but my grandfather, actually both my grandparents passed away last year, and I was given sort of as when we were allotting stuff, his he had like a Greek New Testament, but like that had like an English translation under it that was his father's, and so it was actually like printed in 1910, and like they both like have put like things in the margins and whatever, and like my religiosity is kind of all over the place at the moment, but like having like that connection to the past is really, really cool. So that was definitely the first thing that I thought of.
That's a nice heirloom.
Yeah, really sweet.
Yeah.
I have a good answer for number 9 if we're done with number 8.
It's
kind of a funny story. And so the person who gave me this book was my father, and I know that he will never see this, so I feel like I can say it here. But basically last year, maybe it was the year before, at some point, we were talking about books because he used to read a lot more when he was younger. And we talked about a Tom Clancy book or something, and I, being nice, said something like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And then on Christmas Day, he gives me a book that is wrapped up, and and he's like, "Yeah, we talked about it." And I was like, "We did? Okay, I'm so curious." I opened it, and it was Tom Clancy's Sum of All Fears, and I have no desire to read it, and I mean, maybe I will one day just so I could like talk to him about it. But like, I felt really bad because our conversation about it obviously meant a lot to him, and he was excited to give it to me. And I was just like totally clueless. I was like, what did we talk about? What is this? It's like a book that I have no interest in. But he's really sweet.
Aww.
That's funny.
Okay, well, I will also answer that question. Most of the books that I get are on a wish list, so if someone gives it to me, it's technically my fault. But I did make the mistake of buying the Spanish version of A Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. Not like an actual mistake, but I went to he has a little bookshop in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I went there, and I was going to buy just another hardcover of A Storm of Swords, which is my favorite. And I was like, do I really need it's the same cover. It's just a color. And I was like, these covers are super cool. I'll get this, with plans of buying the rest of them. Well, I left. Obviously, I don't live in New Mexico. And these are like really, really hard to find. So I was like looking up. I mean, they're not $500 expensive, thank God. I mean, they're still like, $50 to $100 a piece. And I'm like, damn. Like I can't read Spanish, so I'm never gonna read this. I didn't really think that one through. So don't be like me. Don't do it.
I love it.
It's a really cool cover. I really like it.
I love
It is a cool cover.
It is, yeah.
And then Jesse, to wrap it all up.
I'm gonna answer number 10.
Okay.
I have one. I was gonna say something from Stormlight, but instead, I'm going to try to be a little more original and say something from Malice, which Shoshana, I know you might know which scene I'm talking about. And that is, I'm trying to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but one of our main characters is like this younger boy, and he gets an animal companion in the first book, and it is the most precious animal-human bond, and I just loved it so much. So if you love that stuff in books, go pick up Malice.
It's like my favorite trope.
Jade, though, be careful because the process of him getting it is a bit traumatic, and you might your heart will be
okay. I need to protect my heart.
It'll be difficult.
It's very sad leading up to it, but once it happens, it is.
The way you're describing this sounds very Farseer trilogy-esque.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh,
the exact same thing happens in there, where it's like one of the closest, kind of animal companions, but it's rough getting there. Elliot, I can't imagine you reading those books based on what I've seen from your channel.
I've read the first one. I'm scared for the next.
Yeah, we buddy read it.
I mean, my dog is literally like right at my feet, so she's always around.
The second and third ones, that particular element gets a lot stronger. Like,
what?
Like that particular element really takes off. It's Robin Hobbs. There's never like completely happy endings, but it's I would say if you're worried about that, that gets a little better.
Okay. I thought you meant it gets way worse. I was
No. Like, I'm trying not to spoil things, but like
okay,
stuff that happened in the first one won't happen again in necessarily the same way.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, talking about, animals and stuff, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks to our guests today for joining us. We'll have their channels linked, so you can definitely check them out. But if you want to do this tag yourself and donate to the Phoenix Children's Hospital, please do so. We would love that. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.